It all started with a simple idea, one that an ordinary girl never imagined would change her life forever. Sophia was just 15, a bright and curious teenager living in a small town, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone. Life for her was simple: school, homework, and daydreaming about the stars. Sophia wasn't like most kids her age. While others scrolled through endless social media feeds or binge-watch shows, she spent hours poring over books about space, rockets, and the possibility of life on Mars. Elon Musk was her hero. The founder of Tesla and SpaceX wasn't just a billionaire to her. He was a visionary, someone daring enough to dream of making humanity a multiplanetary species. For as long as she could remember, she had followed every news article, every announcement, and every tweet from Musk. His determination, his relentless pursuit of the impossible, it inspired her. Deep down, she wanted to be part of that dream. But who was she to even think that? Sophia was just one girl in a town that felt light years away from the world of innovation and cutting-edge technology. Her family wasn't wealthy, and her school didn't exactly have the resources to support her interests in space exploration. Most of her classmates thought she was odd, obsessing over rockets and reusable boosters, when they were more concerned about who was dating whom or what was trending on TikTok. Still, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that she was meant for something greater. Every night, she would stare out of her tiny bedroom window, looking up at the stars and wondering what it would feel like to be out there, to touch the edge of infinity. That's when the idea struck her. Asterisk, what if I wrote to him asterisk? It seemed absurd at first. Why would someone as important as Elon Musk ever notice a letter from a random teenager? He probably received thousands of messages every day, from people far more influential or qualified than her. But the thought wouldn't leave her mind. If she didn't try, she'd always wonder what could have happened. So one evening, with her heart pounding and her hands trembling slightly, Sophia sat down at her desk. She pulled out a piece of paper, yes, real paper, and began to write. She wasn't sure how to start. Should she sound formal? Should she list all her dreams and aspirations right away? Instead, she just wrote from the heart. "Dear Mr. Musk," she began. Her words flowed naturally, honest, and unpolished. She told him about her fascination with space and her dream of becoming an astronaut. She confessed her struggles, how hard it was to hold on to big dreams in a small town where people didn't always understand her passion. And then she asked the question that had been burning inside her. Asterisk, what advice would you give to someone like me? Someone who feels so small compared to the vastness of the universe, asterisk. When she finished, Sophia read over her letter a dozen times, making tiny corrections here and there. Finally, she folded it carefully, placed it in an envelope, and addressed it to SpaceX headquarters in California. She had no idea if it would even reach him, let alone if he'd ever read it. But in that moment, she felt a spark of hope. Weeks passed, and life went on as usual. Sophia tried not to think about the letter too much. She assumed it had been lost in a pile of fan mail or discarded altogether. After all, why would Elon Musk take the time to reply to her? It was a ridiculous idea to begin with. And then, one afternoon, something extraordinary happened. Sophia came home from school to find her mom standing by the kitchen table, holding an envelope with a SpaceX logo on it. Her mom's face was pale, a mixture of confusion and excitement. "Sophia," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "this came for you." Sophia's heart stopped. She couldn't breathe. She stared at the envelope, unable to move. It was real. It was actually real. Slowly, she reached out and took it, her hands shaking so much that she almost dropped it. She looked at her mom, who was now watching her with wide eyes. "Open it," her mom urged. Sophia carefully tore open the envelope, her mind racing with 1,000 possibilities. Inside was a single piece of paper, neatly folded. She unfolded it and began to read. What she saw made her gasp. The words on the page weren't just a generic response or a polite acknowledgement. They were personal, heartfelt, and unlike anything she had expected. As her eyes moved down the page, she felt tears welling up. By the time she finished reading, she was crying so hard she could barely speak. Her mom rushed over, alarmed. "Sophia, what is it? What did he say?" But Sophia couldn't answer. She could only clutch the letter to her chest, overwhelmed by the weight of what it said. What Elon Musk had written to her wasn't just a reply. It was a message that would change her life forever. Sophia sat in her room, the letter still clutched tightly in her hands, the words echoing in her mind over and over. She couldn't believe it. Elon Musk had written back to her, asterisk her asterisk, a nobody from a small town who had only dared to dream. The letter was unlike anything she could have imagined. It wasn't filled with corporate jargon or polite, but empty encouragement. No, it was raw, real, and deeply personal. In the letter, Elon had written about his own struggles, his fears, and the countless times he'd faced failure. He shared how, as a young man, people had laughed at his ideas, told him his dreams were unrealistic. But he refused to let their doubts define him. "The universe doesn't care about the size of your town," he wrote. "It cares about the size of your determination." He ended with a challenge. If you truly believe in your dreams, don't wait for the world to validate them. Start building. Start learning. The path won't be easy, but nothing worth doing ever is. Those words lit a fire in Sophia's heart. It was as if he had reached across the vast distance between them and handed her the blueprint for her future. But it also terrified her. What did start building even mean for someone like her? She didn't have access to advanced labs or resources. Her school didn't even have a proper science club. That night, as she lay in bed staring up at the glow-in-the-dark stars on her ceiling, Sophia realized she had two choices. She could treat the letter as a once-in-a-lifetime moment, something to treasure and look back on, or she could let it be the first step towards something bigger. She thought about Elon's words again. Asterisk, the universe cares about the size of your determination asterisk. The next morning, she made up her mind. Sophia decided to start small, right where she was. She began by devouring every book, article, and online video she could find about space exploration, engineering, and the challenges of building rockets. She started sketching out ideas in her notebook, simple concepts at first, like model rockets made from everyday materials. At school, she tried to rally some of her classmates to join her. "I'm starting a space club," she announced one day during lunch. "We can build models, learn about rockets, maybe even compete in science fairs." Most of her peers laughed. "A space club? Here? Good luck with that," one boy sneered. Even her teachers seemed skeptical. One of them, Mr. Davis, who taught physics, pulled her aside after class one day. "Sophia, I admire your enthusiasm," he said gently, "but you might want to set more realistic goals. These things require resources we just don't have." Sophia tried not to let it get to her, but the doubt was like a shadow she couldn't shake. Still, she pressed on. She found a few students who shared her curiosity, though not quite her level of passion, and together they started meeting in the dusty old science lab after school. It wasn't much, but it was a start. One day, as she scrolled through her phone for inspiration, she stumbled upon a video of Elon Musk talking about failure. He described how the early SpaceX launches had ended in disaster, costing millions of dollars and almost sinking the company. "Failure is an option here," he said in the clip. "If things are not failing, you're not innovating enough." Those words stuck with her. If Elon Musk could keep going after such colossal setbacks, surely she could handle a few dismissive comments from her classmates or a failed experiment or two. The club's first project was a small one, a bottle rocket powered by water and air pressure. It was basic, but it was something they could build with what they had. Sophia poured herself into the project, staying late in the lab and experimenting with different designs. The day of the launch, half the school showed up, mostly out of curiosity or to see if it would fail. Sophia felt the weight of their stares as she and her team set up the rocket on the makeshift launch pad. Her hands trembled as she counted down. 3, 2, 1. The rocket shot into the air, soaring higher than anyone expected before coming back down in a graceful arc. The crowd erupted in cheers, and for the first time, Sophia felt like her dream wasn't so impossible after all. But the moment of triumph was short-lived. As the club started tackling more ambitious projects, they quickly ran into obstacles. Materials were expensive, and their school's budget was limited. Sophia began spending her own savings, but it wasn't enough. One night, as she sat at her desk staring at a list of supplies they needed, she felt a wave of despair. Maybe Mr. Davis was right. Maybe she was setting herself up for disappointment. She picked up Elon's letter, now slightly crumpled from how often she had read it, and stared at the words. Asterisk, don't wait for the world to validate your dreams, asterisk. Then an idea struck her. Sophia decided to reach out to the world for help. She created a social media page for the club, posting updates about their projects and sharing their passion for space exploration. She even uploaded a video explaining their mission and the challenges they were facing. "Hi, I'm Sophia," she said in the video, her voice steady despite the nervous butterflies in her stomach. "We're a small group of students with big dreams. We want to learn, build, and maybe one day contribute to humanity's journey to the stars. If you believe in dreaming big, we'd love your support." The video didn't go viral overnight, but it started gaining traction. People from all over began commenting, sharing words of encouragement, and even donating small amounts to help fund their projects. It wasn't long before local news outlets picked up the story. Sophia's world was changing, but with newfound attention came new pressures, and not everyone was supportive. Some accused her of chasing impossible dreams, while others questioned her motives. The weight of it all began to take its toll. One evening, as Sophia scrolled through the comments on one of her posts, she came across one that stopped her cold. It was from someone claiming to work at SpaceX. The message was brief. "We've been watching your journey. Keep going. You're closer than you think." Sophia's heart raced. Was it real, or just someone messing with her? She didn't know, but it reignited her determination. She threw herself into her work with even more passion, pushing herself and her team harder than ever. But as they prepared for their most ambitious project yet, a fully functional model rocket capable of reaching higher altitudes than anything they'd built before, Sophia began to sense that something was about to change. There was a tension in the air, a feeling that everything they had worked for was building toward a moment that would either propel them forward or break them entirely. And as the day of the big launch approached, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to take another unexpected turn. The morning of the big launch arrived, and the air buzzed with nervous energy. Sophia and her team had worked tirelessly to prepare the rocket, tweaking every detail, running endless tests, and troubleshooting last-minute problems. The entire town had shown up to watch, crowding around the makeshift launch site with a mixture of curiosity and pride. For the first time, Sophia felt like her community believed in her, and it gave her a surge of hope. The rocket stood tall on the launch pad, gleaming in the sunlight. It wasn't perfect. It was patched together with more duct tape and determination than Sophia cared to admit, but it was theirs. They had built it from scratch, learning from every failure along the way. Sophia glanced at her mom, who stood in the crowd, her eyes filled with pride and a hint of worry. Next to her was Mr. Davis, the teacher who had once told Sophia to set more realistic goals. He gave her a small nod, as if to say, "Asterisk, you've proved me wrong, asterisk." "Ready?" one of her teammates asked, pulling her out of her thoughts. Sophia took a deep breath and nodded. She stepped forward to address the crowd, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "Thank you all for being here today," she began. "This rocket isn't just a project. It's proof that big dreams can start in small places. No matter what happens today, this is only the beginning." With that, she turned to the controls. Her hands shook slightly as she entered the final sequence. The countdown began, and the crowd joined in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sophia pressed the button, and for a split second, the world seemed to stand still. Then, with a deafening roar, the rocket burst to life, its engines igniting in a blaze of light and heat. The crowd gasped as it lifted off the ground, soaring higher and higher into the sky. Sophia's heart pounded as she watched it climb, her eyes glued to the streak of smoke trailing behind it. The rocket flew higher than any of their previous attempts, breaking through the clouds before arcing gracefully and deploying its parachute for a safe descent. The crowd erupted in cheers and applause, but for Sophia, the moment was surreal. She had done it. They had done it. She looked around at her team, all of them grinning and hugging each other, and felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. As the rocket floated back to the ground, something unexpected happened. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, and when she pulled it out, her breath caught. It was a message from a verified SpaceX account. "Congratulations, Sophia. You've inspired more people than you know. Let's talk about your future. Elon." The crowd's cheers faded into the background as Sophia stared at the screen, her mind racing. Was this real? She read the message again, her hands trembling, and then looked up at her mom, who had tears streaming down her face. "What is it?" her mom asked, rushing over. Sophia showed her the message, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. Then her mom pulled her into a tight hug. "I told you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I told you your dreams were worth chasing." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Elon Musk himself arranged a virtual meeting with Sophia and her team, praising their work and offering guidance on their future projects. He even invited them to visit SpaceX headquarters, where they got to meet engineers, see rockets up close, and learn from some of the brightest minds in the field. For Sophia, it felt like stepping into another world, one she had always dreamed of, but never thought she'd be part of. The experience solidified her resolve to pursue a career in aerospace engineering, and she began applying to colleges with strong programs in the field. Back in her small town, things changed too. The once dismissive classmates now looked up to her, and the space club grew, attracting more students who wanted to be part of something bigger. The town, once skeptical of her dreams, rallied around her, proud to have someone from their community chasing the stars. But through it all, Sophia never forgot where she started, sitting at her desk, writing that letter with shaky hands and a heart full of hope. She often thought about Elon's words, the ones that had pushed her to take that first leap. Asterisk, the universe cares about the size of your determination, asterisk. As Sophia stared up at the night sky, now filled with a renewed sense of possibility, she realized something important. Dreams, no matter how big, don't belong to the elite or the powerful. They belong to anyone brave enough to chase them. And she knew, without a doubt, that her journey was just beginning. How's that for a memorable and satisfying conclusion?